Hello and welcome to the Modern Fairy Sightings Podcast, where we listen to people's fairy encounters. But take heed, we're not talking about winged Tinkerbells here. These are real fairies, real encounters that took people like you and I by surprise. Stay a while and hear their stories. My name is Jo Hickey-Hall, and I'm a folklore researcher. This podcast is of course free, but to ensure it continues, it does require your support. If you can support the show and its continued research, there are a number of tiers to choose from at patreon.com/the Modern Fairy Sightings Podcast. We have a Discord private discussion group and a monthly live chat, plus regular personal updates behind the scenes. With your support, I hope to dedicate more time to this research and producing fortnightly episodes. Alternatively, you can really help support by subscribing, rating and sharing your favourite episodes with your friends. Thanks. Hello dear listener, I hope you're well. Thank you for your lovely emails again recently. There was a big influx of messages and comments after that last episode with the blue light, and I think that resonated with a lot of people. They found it just as fascinating as me. I do love to hear from you, so please keep your messages coming. And I must also tell you that I only just found out this week that my contact form on scarlettofthefay.com website hasn't been working for months. So apologies for that. I immediately fixed it. So please do get in touch again if you did so previously and you won't have got a reply, because I won't have seen your message and there's no way for me to access those now, unfortunately. So I do always reply to messages. So yes, please do get in touch. Deep gratitude as always to my curious crew at Patreon. Our tea ritual workshop this weekend was run by a previous guest and it was truly awesome. It introduced us to some methods to connect with otherworldly beings by using particular teas. We're going to be joining together and doing some really exciting projects, so if you'd like to join us and support this project while getting access to bonus material and exclusive merchandise and of course our amazing community, then please check us out at patreon.com, the Modern Fairy Sightings Podcast. This is the second part of that interview with the woman who had experienced the blue light and who had had many extraordinary encounters in her life. The first part described her face-to-face encounter with that intelligent blue light, and in this episode we hear about a deep fairy experience which took place 2 years later. There's a bonus episode on Patreon to go with this chat, and it's part of the discussion which wasn't aired on the main episode about another potentially fairy-rich landscape in the UK. It's a yew forest, and I talk about yew trees, their symbolism and history, and my long-held love for them. I hope you enjoy this, and please do get in touch and let me know your thoughts. Contact me at scarlettofthefay.com, scarlettofthefay@gmail.com, and I'm on Instagram and Twitter at _remain_curious. I'll be back at the end for a quick chat. Time to
The fairy experience happened about a year after a year maybe two after the big shield that came on the wall. That was a totally different feel, and it did feel different. I was actually working at a festival. Okay. This was somewhere around about 2002. Mm-hmm. And I'd gone to work there. There's a bunch of friends and we went to work there. I was doing my holistic therapies, and we arrived on the Thursday night, because everyone who was actually working at the festival would arrive a few days earlier to set up. Yeah. So we arrived on the Thursday night, and it was actually held in a really old wood, amazing place. And we arrived on the Thursday. We got caught in a traffic jam, but we arrived in the evening. We arrived when it was dark, so we waited till the next day to set up. So we got on with our business. I set up my tent, put my tent up, and as per usual, which is what I used to do, because I used to work at a lot of the festivals back then. I'd go around and find my bearings. This was the first time we'd been to this festival. So I went for a walk around to find out where everybody and everything was and where everything was placed. It was beautiful. It was really hot. It was August. It was really hot. I remember it being really hot. And I've been walking around looking at all the people setting up their stalls and different things going on. And this was before they let the public in. So the people that were there were all the people that were actually working at the festival. And so I was walking around the grounds. The actual site was held in the middle of the wood. So there was like a clearing in the middle of the wood. And I kept out of the peripheral of my eyes, I kept seeing these really tall people that kept sort of, I suddenly realised there's these really tall people I keep catching, which were not part of the crowd, not part of the crowd, the human crowd. And it suddenly, caught my awareness. My God, there's these tall beings, and
wow.
I go when I looked directly as it go, I just kept catching it. And then I'd forget because I was getting involved with what was going on, so I'd sink back down into normal consciousness again. But I saw quite a few of these tall beings, and they were quite dark. They had a dark atmosphere. I don't mean dark as in evil. I mean dark as in they looked dark. They were dark haired and looked like they were in dark robes of some kind, and they were slightly stooped. They had this slight stoop to them. And it was just really, really weird. And then I saw one full on. I mean, up until then, I'd been seeing them from the corner of my eye, but I caught one that was kind of full on with my direct vision. And it was so brief. I mean, this is so brief. But in that moment, there was this direct eye contact.
Oh wow!
And just this sense of acknowledgement, a kind of a nod to each other, and then it was gone. It was over. It was done with. And I went back to my camp and told the people I was with. I'm seeing these, really, and I could tell they weren't part of the crowd. Well, they were, but they were mingling, but they weren't part of the human crowd.
They were the other crowd.
Yeah, they were the other crowd. They'd come out to see what was going on, basically. Yeah. Because I think actually, looking back, I think that was the first time the Earth Spirit Festival, because it used to travel around. And I think it was the first time it had been held at that site.
So, I wonder about that site. I wonder if anybody else, if there's any folklore around there as well, or any other encounters that have taken place in those woods.
Beautiful wood. And that weekend, on the Saturday, because we arrived on the Thursday, but on the Saturday it was full moon. So it was the full moon in Aquarius, and I always find that a really really magical moon anyway, the Aquarian moon, which happens in August. And it was it lit up, you could see it in the clearing of the wood, and it was just it was an amazing full moon that weekend. And the heat, it was really hot weekend as well. But the next day, the next evening after that day, I saw the tall beings. I went out in the evening as well, because you need to go out in the evening and find your feet so that you know how to get around in the dark. So I went out in the evening and went for an explore around the site. And I got back probably about 1 a.m. in the morning, got back to my tent about 1 a.m. and went saw people that used to all go to the festivals then. And so I got back to my tent and lay down. I had a Z bed in the tent, and as soon as I put my head down, I just lay down, stomach down, with my head to one side. And as soon as I put my head on the pillow, I saw all these fairies all around my head, circling my head. Now, I obviously didn't see them physically. They weren't there physically, but I could see them with my inner eye.
Yeah.
And they looked like the Arthur Rackham fairies.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Amazing.
Which they were not, they looked old and not ancient and gnarled. Like they'd just come out of the trees. Now, obviously, Arthur Rackham was my first love of fairy. That was my first fairy memory in that sense. Those images of Arthur Rackham, the art of Arthur Rackham, really resonated with me as a child.
Yeah,
and I've always loved his artwork. So they made sense to me to look like that in that sense. But they were sort of flying, but they were kind of fast. This was like a maelstrom of fairies going around my head. So I couldn't really get too many details, except for this one that came towards me that looked, I could see the face of it, which looked like one of the Arthur Rackham sort of goblin fairy types. And then I sank. I could feel myself sink, what felt like I was sinking into the earth.
Oh, that's
and then I went, then that was it. It was a blank. I don't remember anything else until I got up the next day. But I got up feeling, oh my God, the empowerment. I felt so empowered. And I felt like, I don't know, it was a strange, when I looked again, the experience is happening, so you sort of process it later. You go through the experience and then process it afterwards. And I felt really protected. I felt this incredible sense of protection, and I felt so honored. I cannot tell you how honored I felt to have experienced that.
That is wonderful.
Immense. I felt so empowered, and the next day I was strutting around the festival site. And I could feel it even in the way I was walking.
A shift had taken place.
Maybe. Yes, it was amazing, and I just felt so honoured and so just I'm protected. That feeling of protection was like nothing I've ever felt before. It was amazing, and it was brief, very brief. It was, and then the rest of the festival happened. We all did our thing. I was working then. I didn't have any more experiences for the rest of the time I was there, and it was on arrival. That all happened on arrival. So that was the only, I can say that's the only fairy experience I've had.
Well, they're pretty serious fairy experiences to come face to face. What did the tall one look like? Do you know? Can you remember?
Yeah, there was a very strange look about it, really, because it's not beautiful. They had a really kind of, this particular one, it had dark hair, very straight dark hair, a slight stoop, and was robed in a kind of some kind of dark robe. I didn't get the details. It was quite bland in a way, that it's just this straight up and down dark figure, and quite a plain face, to be honest. Nothing, just this kind of plain looking, nothing glorious at all, but it had a kindly feel. That's the again, it was and I loved this. I just had this lovely sense of being nodded at. There was a nod and an acknowledgement again, that sense of recognition, as you said earlier, without really knowing what you were recognizing, but the sense of it was there.
A meeting of spirits, I guess. The kind of recognition,
and an acknowledgement. Again, it was like this thing, this felt male. It has to be said. It had a look of the male about it. It felt male, if we can put gender to it. But I felt like it recognised me, and I recognised him, and it was just a nodding of a nodding of the head to each other. I felt like it knew that I had seen it, and it was letting me know. Like, yep, there you go. And that was it. It was gone.
Can you remember anything about its eyes? What their eyes were like, or their skin?
Quite large. From what I can remember, they were quite large. But it was so transient, though. I mean, the whole thing was just, it was a blink of an eye and gone.
Yeah.
So in that moment, I had, something superimposed itself in my mind of what I had seen. And that was it. That's the memory I brought through with me. But there were no finer details in that sense. That it was too brief and too transitory. But the actual experience of it has been long lasting.
Yeah.
It
is lovely. Can you remember the colour of their eyes or not?
No. I can't. They seemed, the others I could only see from with my peripheral vision. This was just the one. I actually felt later this one just stopped. It stopped in a way to because in that moment there was this, heightened awareness again of each other, and I just got this impression of what it was in that sense. So the eyes seemed large. There was a bit of a melancholy look to them.
That's interesting,
rather than anything. But there was no sharp details. It's just the impression.
And do you remember what kind of wood it was? Was it just like a mixture of all sorts of trees, or so the wood itself, but also, because you mentioned it was quite an old wood.
It was.
Do you remember where you pitched your tent? Which kind of trees were around where you pitched your tent? Or not?
Do you know? To be honest, that's a really good point, actually. Do you know what? I didn't even know. I mean, I went with friends. We all went. There used to be a little group of us used to travel around, and some of them were from the Holistic Centre where I worked. Myself and 2 colleagues who worked there, and people who were kind of involved with the centre. So there was about 6 of us all used to go around the festivals in the summer and work there, doing various therapies and healing.
Sounds great fun.
It was. Oh God, I loved those days. Missed them, but. I just went with them. We knew it was the Earth Spirit Festival, and I just went along, and we didn't even. To be honest, I think it was mixed trees.
Yeah.
Rather than a specific type of tree, a specific type of wood. There seemed to be this. They're all old.
Yeah.
It was an ancient wood. It was pretty old, but I didn't even know where we were. I just knew we were somewhere on the edge. We just all went to this festival. So I didn't know too much about the actual place itself.
Yeah.
And even if I wouldn't know where it was now if I tried to research it, to be honest, because I didn't actually know where it was placed.
Yeah.
And the Earth Spirit Festival used to move around, you see. It used to held its festival in different locations every year. I don't know if it's still going, but so I mean that was somewhere around about, I think that was 2002.
Okay, right. Well, I hope the wood is still there for the energy that's within it. I really hope it.
But it wasn't amazing, and of course with that full moon that weekend as well, and it lit the whole wood up because we were in the actual centre of the festival was in a clearing in the wood, so the rest of the wood surrounded this clearing.
Yeah.
And so the moon, when it rose, it was right up where you could see it, and just lit up the whole of the site, the festival site. So it was a very it had a real magical feel. So I'm not surprised that I had the experience I had there, to be honest.
It's great though. It's like you were really welcomed in, and you were, get taken down into a journey as well.
Yes.
And it sounds like this, you were given a healing of some sort, some shift took place, and just really granted such a blessing.
It was lovely. That was one of my most I think one of the most pleasant experiences on that level. Well, I mean, I say pleasant, but it was beautiful. That felt beautiful to me. The other experiences I've had along the way were all they've been different, but and unusual, but this felt beautiful, and it was the way I felt the next day.
Yeah.
I just felt so it was such an uplifting experience.
You're in a different space then, aren't you?
Yeah. And that was really, I think, probably the last of, I haven't really had, I've been very earthbound really, because I, built up a business again after that, and really had to focus in on from ground level, and was very focused on, focused on sort of, making a living for myself and building up my business and offering what I offer. I kind of think I closed down a little bit because I had to, in a way, to really focus on, on this other dimension of my life, and sort of making a living for myself and building a business. So
of being on Earth
exactly.
and sort of living the life.
Which has been a journey in itself as well, and has had just equal amount of interesting experiences as well, but on a different level. So but also. Maybe that trip down, maybe that was part of what was to come. Maybe that was kind of, placing you facing that direction for going forwards. We just don't know, do we? But it sounds like,
you got on your path afterwards. And so,
and as I said, I think lately, I mean, it has been kind of quiet on that level, but I've been sensing my mum lately. My mum passed in 2016, and I've not had any kind of experiences with my mum on that level. But recently I've been really sensing her, but I'm really getting a strong message, and I think this message is for everybody as well, in a way. I mean, she's giving it to me, but she keeps telling me in my mind's eye, I keep hearing her saying, Yvonne, just do what you love. Just do what you love. It's almost like she said, it's that simple.
It bloody is that simple.
Just do what you love. And I felt like, I mean, we all know that it's something we all bandy around, follow your dreams, do what you love. But it's true, and it's not something she ever said to me when she was alive. And it's almost like this sort of, this is and I think through these times we're in at the moment, this crisis we're all going through right now, I think it's doubly important that we do what we love.
It's so true. And the thing is, not to worry about the details too much, but just take that first step. This is what I always say, but you're so right, that is a message for everybody. Healing has helped me many times in my life when I'd reached a point where something needed to change. In 2005, I trained with Martin to learn the body mirror system of healing, which was life-changing for me. It's based on the idea that the parts of your body that don't work well reflect the parts of your life that don't work well, and about which you have tension in your consciousness. The understanding is that tension is stress, and stress causes symptoms. In a distance healing or in-person session, I move up the chakras, returning each one to wholeness using a colour map. During the process, I see images and situations, I hear words or receive impressions that tell me something about what caused the tension in that person's life. The feedback at the end of the session is a really big part of the healing. If you're interested in a chakra healing session, you can contact me at scarlettofthefay@gmail.com.
And that's how it felt. I mean, she's giving that message to me, but I felt like it's for everyone. This is, these times are so important to do what we love. Because in a way, there's nothing else. Well, it's if we don't do what we love, what can
whose
we do
life are we living?
Life? Yeah,
exactly.
We
know we have to make decisions for ourselves about what we do. Can't be responsible for anybody else.
No, exactly.
We're responsible for ourselves.
And so many people get hung up about, oh, I can't do it's just not practical. I can't do this. I can't do that. I'm not good enough. I'm not, or, life isn't like that. And so what do? You end up with a life that, isn't really suited.
That you're not living.
That you're not, you're not happy. And it's not easy. Doing what you love isn't easy either. I'm not saying it's an easy thing.
No, you're
right. It has its challenges, but it's so important. I think it's just such an important message I'm getting through from my mum at the moment. And I think it's important for all of us just do what you love.
No, it's true. When I say we're not responsible for anyone else, of course, when we've got children, we're responsible for our children, but not for each other's happiness or in any other way. It's like, exactly. If we just did what it is that we love doing, I think the world would be a much happier place.
And it's a form of anarchy as well, in a way. Especially in these times, I think that the more we kind of just get down to it and say, I'm going to do what I was put on earth to do, and not be sort of like, knocked off course by how they want us to be and what they want us to do. I think that is just so important. And I think that's why it's coming through. This message I feel is coming through from my mum at the moment is, it's even more important now in these times, I think. So it
is. I so agree with this. And interesting to note that a lot of people actually have this has been a time where people have gone, sod it, I'm going to do this, because the cards were thrown up in the air. No one knew where they were going to land. this liminal space we're in, people have just gone, actually, do you know what? This is what I want to do. And they've just taken a punt on something.
Exactly.
Because it felt right.
Yeah. Because it's all just breaking down, isn't it?
It is. And I'm thinking as well about a lot of people that maybe had felt that but didn't maybe go for it, and because there's a lot of suffering, obviously there's an awful lot of suffering in the world at the moment as well.
There is.
So
and I think it's the only way we can get back on track in a way, because with everything that's happening politically and with the environment, with the climate change, and whether you agree with that or not, I know there are people who don't believe it's happening, but I personally think it is, and we only have to look at what's going on with the weather systems.
Exactly.
But
I agree.
I think the more we all just be who we are and get down to what it is we love, and whatever that may be, just do it. It's the only way I think we can move forward.
Same here. Same here. Let's hold the space for that to happen in this world. It's very mucked up at the moment, but wow. Oh, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed listening to those, and really, really fascinated.
Nice to talk about it as well. It's been nice because I know obviously people who listen to the podcasts will be people who are open to it anyway. And it opens the way for other people, I think, to talk about their experiences, to share it as well.
It does. And there's probably lots of people out there who have seen things. And when you were saying you felt a lot of activity lately, I've really been feeling this. I have felt people that have passed over, and they've been so close, where I could actually feel, a kind of the physical presence, like hands on my shoulders recently. That was the other week, about a week ago. I felt somebody that had passed their hand on my shoulders, and just generally, so I might catch a glimpse of something either in our bedroom or our lounge, maybe once or twice a month or something like that, like, oh, okay, who's this or what's that? But it's been happening just kind of all the time. I mean, there's just so much activity. And I think I was saying to you, wasn't I, that I don't know if it's because we're in October. Well, it was kind of mid-October when the first and second weeks of October. The second and third weeks of October, when I started noticing all this activity, like a lot of activity. And I thought, is it because we're coming up to Samhain, or is it something to do with the world at the moment? I don't know.
I think it's probably everything. I mean, the veil is thinning anyway, and this is the time of the year, isn't it, when we speak about the veil thinning.
That's true.
Thinning of the veil, and I think the drawing, it's just the whole atmosphere. I think it is. We are more open. We open at this time of the year. I think we open up to. But I think these times are crucial at the moment as well, and I think people are having more experiences at the moment. I think we're in a time of crisis, and that, I think, crisis actually does open us up. Strange way for it to happen, but it does open us up.
It does,
because it takes us outside of our normal everyday routine. So we open up into this. It opens up our other perceptions. And we become more receptive. But this time of the, I mean, it's true. My mom, I mean, it's been through late September, early October. Late September through October, I've been really sensing my mom, and it's been lovely because I've never really sensed her since she passed.
Oh, that's so nice. It is. So when they're close and you feel them next to you, it's just nothing like it. It is.
She's been strong. She's been strong there. So and this message has been so insistent as well, that such a simple message, but it's just such a true message. This is the thing, and it's
it's for now. Somehow it makes me think of, when you were saying you were in the tent and they were dancing around you, and you sort of went deep into the earth, and who knows what happened there, and then the next day you were in a different space. And just this time of year, it almost feels like that somehow it gets darker and we enter into something. We go into the darkness as if we're sort of sinking into the earth in some way, and then we reappear, we re-emerge, I should say, in springtime, having had this time of deep reflection and had all these experiences where it does feel like we're closer to spirit in a lot of ways.
I think we withdraw, I mean, in the animal world, we would be sort of getting ready to hibernate by now.
Yeah.
But we withdraw, we're sort of taking, in the summer months, we're out, with a outer directed consciousness. And I think this is the time of the year when we begin to withdraw into ourselves, into our inner worlds, and take stock. We start to take a summary of the year that's gone before us in that way. And I think we become much more sensitive at this time. Yeah.
Oh, well, I hope you are able to use this time, and that we're all able to use this time, because I think we need it, don't we?
We do. I think at no time, no more than any other, I think we've never known a time like this in our lifetime.
No.
And it's
amazing times.
These are changing times.
Yeah.
So we need to be as authentic as we possibly can be.
Yes, that is the word.
Authenticity.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. I really enjoyed it.
I feel like, lots of wisdom in there for myself and everybody, really.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I've enjoyed it. It's been great.
Yeah.
Time to
This experience was so rich. There was the initial, what I would describe as guardians, who have been mentioned in previous guests' encounters. These tall, dark beings who one person described as having a sense of authority, and I note were described here as melancholy. They often take up the edges of particular locations and have been known to appear before an encounter takes place. Are they easier for us to perceive? Do they make themselves known as some sort of test on the experiencee? Do they simply guard the landscape and are always there, or is their role to make the initial contact before an encounter? Our guest describes them as kindly, and so, whatever their function, she felt welcome to this space. Whereas our previous guest on the Tall Folk and the Little People episode describes the sense that they were warning him away. In this case, she experienced eye contact with the being, which, as we know, is a regular feature of fairy encounters. The experience in the tent is also fascinating. She was drawn into a journey with these beings, a feeling of them dancing and spinning around her, causing, one might argue, an altered state, and then the sense of being drawn down and down. Anyone who actively meditates and uses the practice of sinking into the earth will immediately recognize the depth of this feeling. And if you've never tried this exercise before, then I recommend sitting to meditate at the base of a tree or against the stone of a dolmen, and allow yourself to be drawn down into the roots, into the earth, and see what you might meet or experience there. It doesn't have to be an earth-shattering event, but it's useful and grounding, particularly if you're suffering in any way. I like the idea that in some burial rituals, bodies are put to rest in the ground. I would offer that sinking into the earth in meditation also offers comfort and solace. The description of the aftermath sounds to me as if a healing had taken place. Shifts take place deep within your being. You are altered, and you experience the world in a different way because you have changed. Fears and anxieties melt away, and you return to wholeness, realigned with who you truly are, and able to connect with others and this world around you more easily. It was after this time that our guest was able to ground her career and was able to carry out her intentions. Sometimes these experiences can mark a shift in our lives. It's like that for many people. Doors open and we're inspired to trust and step through. We discussed at the end the sense that the veil is thin at the moment. While this was recorded at the end of October, the activity continued throughout November and December. I'm aware of many other people who noticed this too. It may well be part of the global shift that we are experiencing, and perhaps, like our guest's healing experience, these otherworldly beings are around, aiding and supporting humanity in getting on the right track. Instinctively, this is what makes sense to me. But what do you think? I'd love to know your thoughts on these experiences and how it makes sense to you. Seeing tall hooded figures or surrendering to a swirl of fairies might seem like a frightening idea to some, but for many of us it's familiar, meaningful and real, arguably more real than some of the illusions that we wrecked around ourselves in the material plane. By exploring these deep spiritual parts of ourselves, surrendering to these experiences without fear, we can learn so much and continue evolving. So, the next time you find yourself communing with nature, step knowingly forward, trust, and remain curious.